Sure.
Right. So moving further, for those who don't know me, I'm Timantha Vidhanagamuye. I love working with Microsoft Data Platform technologies such as Microsoft Power BI, Azure Analysis Services, and Azure Data Factory. So the most important thing out of all the details that you see in the screen right now is my Twitter handle at TimanthaV. So please follow me on Twitter at TimanthaV. Now, a bit about these training sessions that we are conducting uh, in these few weeks. So, firstly, around the beginning of this month, I conducted a training session, a beginner training session, which was about basically creating a data model with reference to a data source and some very basic data modeling concepts that we will need there as well. And with that model, today we'll be moving into our second session where we will have the data source, we will have our data model and we'll be modifying our data model into uh, a better condition with the use of Power BI data flows for data preparation and with the data model itself. So that's what we'll be doing today. Basically, today's session will be about how you can advance your data model a little bit, how you can take your data model to the next level with the use of Power BI data flows. Right, talking about the third session after this. So we'll have a data model that's decently advanced after we completed the session today, and with that data model and with that data flows and basically with that solution, we'll be moving into the data visualizations in reports, right? So we'll be referring to this respective data model and data platform, and we'll be doing analytics with that. We'll be basically doing data. I'll be basically showing you how to engage in data visualization, like how to visualize the data appropriately in the right way with the use of the data model that we had created. After we do that, we move into our final session. So we'll be moving into our final sessions with a data model that is decently advanced and basically a report with data visualizations. And with that, we'll be moving into our next session, our fourth session. So in the fourth session, what I'll be talking about is data visualizations in dashboards and a workspace management in detail. So not to misunderstand, today we will be just touching over workspaces a little bit because workspaces will be essential today, but today I will be not going into that level of depth. I'll be just touching it over and just showing you around, and we'll be covering it in a bit detail in this session. So those are the 4 sessions that we have planned, and as Azan said, we will be having more sessions coming in the future based on your requirements, and I'm also planning to conduct some DAX training sessions as well, since DAX is necessary for like effective data modeling with Power BI, and also environments like Azure Analysis Services and SQL Server Analysis Services, platforms like Azure Analysis Services and SQL Server Analysis Services. So yeah, that's something I'm hoping to cover as well. Let's see how we can move ahead of that. So these are the 4 planned sessions, and I hope you understand where you are heading, so that we can, so that it will be a lot more clearer in terms of the final expectation of this training session. Right, that's about the plan that we had plotted out for our training sessions. And moving into the agenda for today, firstly, we will be looking at data modeling configurations a bit. And so last time, I think last time what we did was we just created a data model in Power BI desktop. So this time what we will be doing is we'll be basically deploying, or we can say publishing the data model and doing specific configurations to that. And and I will not be spitting out all the details right now, but we'll be doing a lot of things there. So you can simply say it's data model configurations. Then afterwards, like after the data model configurations, we'll be ready and set to go to the data preparation with data flow stars, which is like the core section that I'll be covering in this session. So let's get right into it. So this session is a bit different. Usually in my sessions, what I do is I usually start by giving some introductory concepts and bringing in some theory. But since I had given you a decent amount of theory in the last session, so I'll be starting this session with the demo itself. And from the demo, in the middle of the session, we'll be moving back into theory a bit to understand some of the essential concepts. Right. So first thing that we'll be doing is creating a workspace. So what is a workspace? Simply just take a workspace as an environment where you can publish all your maintain and have all your Power BI components to be used by multiple users for different analytical purposes. So that's what a workspace is. So in this session, we'll be creating a workspace. And for that, I'll be heading right into my Power BI service. Right. How do you access Power BI service? It's very easy. Just app.powerbi.com, app.powerbi.com, and you will be headed into a different. You will not be headed into Power BI service straight away. Let me show that to you as well. So you will be heading yourself into if you say app.powerbi.com, for you it would be looking at something like this. From here, just click on sign in first and sign into your respective account. Mine is this, and after you sign in, sorry about that. So let me quickly just go through that. Otherwise, it would not be clear for you guys if you guys are a beginner in terms of how to access this environment. So I would quickly look at my phone. If I will multi-factor authentication here. So sorry about that. And after you log in from that sign-in option that you said, you should be able to see your name, or basically the account that you have logged in with. And right next to it, you would see an option called Power BI Service. And what you need to do is click on that. Then you will be headed into the environment that I was introduced, which is this environment, right? So I would work in here itself so that there would be no confusions. All right. So this is basically Power BI service. So today I will not be looking at Power BI service in detail. It could be looked at with workspace management, and would be looked at further with the workspace management. Since today's main task is for us to advance our data model a little bit with the use of data flows, I will be sticking to that, and I will be not deviating from that. So for that, first thing that we need to do is we need to have a workspace, right? We will need to have a workspace in order to publish our components, Power BI components into that workspace, and to manage those components and to give others access to those components, right? So first thing is to create a workspace. Now, talking about workspaces, you guys can see two workspaces. One is the My Workspace, which is like the main workspace that basically that's like your personal workspace. You can't really share it with anyone. It's for your personal use and it's completely free. But you can see an option called Workspaces on top of My Workspace, right? It's where you have all those, you can say enterprise workspaces, basically workspaces where you share with other people and where you actually manage components with other people, those workspaces can be seen in here, right? So when it comes to this, these workspaces, in terms of how you can create that, so there are two ways. One way is to create these kind of workspaces, you need to have a pro license, right? But if you don't, that's fine. And if you are a first time using Power BI, you should have basically a pro trial license. I'm not sure about the number of days. I think it's around 50 to 60 days, I guess. You get a trial for around 50 to 60 days to basically use the pro features, features of the pro license. It's like a pro trial. And you can use that and create a workspace, but it will expire in the specific time duration. And apparently, you will have to get yourself into a pro license. But for a startup to learn to practice things, that could be decent and more than good enough. So that's something that you guys need to look at. So basically, if you are a first-time user and you haven't used Power BI before, you will have a trial for pro license in which you can use. It's around 50 to 60 days. You can create a workspace using that and do these kind of tasks if you are a first-time user. And if you are an existing user who have been at least looking at maybe who haven't, basically you can say an existing user who haven't used that pro trial license, you can still use that pro trial license and you can enable it and you can use that. And if you have already used that pro trial license for around 50 days, you will definitely have to go for a pro license to create a workspace. I hope that's clear enough in terms of how you can get into this stage. So let's create the workspace straight away. Yeah, creating the workspace task is very simple. So under workspaces, you have a create a workspace option. So it's a yellow color button, as you can see right on the bottom. So just click on that and you should be headed into a window like this, right? So in this particular window, you should be able to see the workspace name. Sorry, basically you should be able to see a text box to enter the workspace name, and you can enter a workspace description as well. So I'll just give a workspace name saying that Power BI training. Right. So I had set up a workspace, put in a workspace name here. I'll not be giving a description, and I would just click on save. And when you do that, after clicking on save, you will be headed into a new workspace. Blank workspace, you simply don't have anything here. It's simply blank. So you will have the workspace here. So that's what this demo is all about. So not a big task to do, but there is a lot to explain in terms of how you guys can get into the stage and create this workspace. Creating the workspace is like a job of a total, but like how you actually get into that stage is something that's important to understand. Right. So we have created a workspace, and the next thing what we need to do is we need to publish the data model that we created in the last session into this Power BI workspace, right? So I would just have a look at the previous model that I created. So this is basically, you can see in the screen now is the model that I created in the last session. So it's same as that, no differences, right? I had simply done nothing. I had just left it as it is from the previous session. So that's there as it is. So what I'll be doing is I'll be publishing this model into that workspace I created. How I do that? Under home, you should be able to see the publish button right at the right hand side of the tab, basically the ribbon. So click on that, and when you click on that, prompt will be asking you whether you want to save the changes. I would say yes, and I will just move ahead with it. And you should get all the list of workspaces that you have access for at this stage. And what I want is Power BI Training Bangladesh, which is this, right? So I would just search for it in this search bar, and I will click on this Power BI Training Bangladesh option, and I will click on select. And this would publish this data model that I am having into that workspace. Right. So as you can see, the publish is a success. So you can see the success tick right here and the success text. So that means it's all good. So you can access the data model from here or from the workspace you created. So I'll access from the workspace I created because I just want to show you that change. Yeah. So as you can see some components, right? The first component is the data set, which is the data model. Basically, as I told you guys in the previous session, the data model in Power BI in the Power BI desktop file will be a data set when it's published into Power BI service. So that's the transition that had happened here in with the orange color icon. When you hover it also, it says data set. So you can see a data set right here. And there's another option that's created on another component that's created on default, which is a report, right? So you might be thinking, we didn't create a report, right? We didn't create any visualizations. We didn't plot any visualizations. It's just blank as it is, but we are getting a report view for that for this, right? So that's not right. So that's something that's created by default when publishing, and there is no problem in you taking this off. If I just show you inside that report, inside that report, it's completely blank. There's nothing. So it's something that's published by default. So I was thinking previously it was something because you had like drag and drop something in, and afterwards like even you take it off, it could remain kind of thing. I thought it was I thought basically previously in the Power BI desktop you drag and drop visuals, right? When you drag and drop visuals and when you clean up those pages, and when you publish, I thought the catch kind of thing remains and it creates this report. But later on, I realized I had worked with like multiple Power BI projects, and later on I realized that in every project, that every time you publish a data model, this kind of a thing happens, right? So it's, I think, safe to say that it's something that's created by default when you're publishing a data model as a Power BI data set. So for that, I would, what I'll do is I don't need it, right? It's SQL bank, so it's useless of me having it. So I would just take that off. I would just click on the ellipsis and click on the delete option. Right, so that is done, and we have the data set right here. If you go to the all option, you can see the data model, and in here on the data sets also you can see the data model. Right now, remember in the previous session what we actually did was we connected our data source was a local SQL server, right? Now when it was in local SQL, when you basically connect to locally, it went on smoothly and the refresh went on smoothly, right? Because you had connected to this model locally. Because the model is also in your local machine, and the SQL server or the database in the SQL server is also in the local machine. So there will be no problems in terms of access. You will be able to connect it successfully and do your data modeling with those local connections, right? But when you publish this data model into this workspace and you try to run a refresh, it would fail. So I would show that. I would just run a refresh and it says refresh failed because this dataset requires a gateway, right? But if I just go into my data model and if I do a very quick refresh for you here in the refresh option right here, data model in my Power BI desktop, if you just give it a few minutes, you will see that it would be a successful run. It would be a success and there would be no issues in terms of such a gateway necessity, right? So, but in here you need something called a gateway, right? So that leads us to our next question, which is what is a Power BI gateway? What is the gateway? In this case, we'll be using a Power BI gateway. So a gateway acts as a bridge between on-prem data sources and Power BI service. So specifically, this is used for data transfer. And there are two types of gateways, one is the standard gateway, and the other one is personal gateway. So the standard gateway is basically it's basically enterprise. You can call it as an enterprise mode gateway, where data can be transferred between multiple data sources and multiple users as well. But when it comes to a personal gateway, it's just with one user and a single data source. So that's the difference. So if you guys don't get this Power BI gateway concept, that's completely fine. You would understand it when we move further in terms of what it does. For now, just keep it in mind that it's like a bridge. Basically, you connect to connect your on-prem data or your local data sources with the cloud, basically with the Power BI service, and to do transfer data between that channel. So for that, we use something called a Power BI gateway. So that's a Power BI gateway, and that leads us to our next session, next demo, which is configuring a Power BI gateway. So configuring a Power BI gateway, before I get you guys into this heading, into this title, I would like to show you what Microsoft has to say about this Power BI gateways. So I just Google in Power BI gateway, and you will get this kind of a page, which is the first option. So how do you do that? When you just Google Power BI gateway, you will get the first option right here. So just click on it, and you would end up in the same page. And how you do that? And you would end up in the same page. So there, you can see the two modes that I talked about in the previous slide, which is you can download the standard mode, or you can download the personal mode. So if you just head down a bit, scroll down a bit, you can see the features of the standard mode, which is here. And the personal mode, which is here, right? So if I just take you through these differences in a bit detail. So firstly, the criteria is cloud services it works with. So basically the platforms that it works with without that it is compatible with. So in this case, you can see that the standard mode is compatible with Power BI, Power Apps, Azure Logic Apps, Power Automate, Azure Analysis Services, and Data Flows. But when it comes to the personal mode is just compatible with Power BI, which is a Power BI dataset. You can only use the personal mode with a Power BI dataset. And the next criteria is serves multiple users with access control per data source. Right, that basically means it serves multiple users and it's not it's not personal, right? It's basically a team-based data gateway. You can call it that way. Yeah. Also, multiple users can access and basically transfer data and work with it, work with this gateway for various purposes from various data sources. So that's what it basically says, and that functionality is not available in the personal mode, right? So which is why you see that kind of thing in under standard mode, which means it's available in the standard mode, and you see simply blank in the personal mode, which means it's not available in the personal mode. And this third criteria is runs as an app for users who aren't administrators, right? So basically that doesn't work that way, right? So that doesn't work that way in standard mode, because standard mode dedicates to various users and it does not specifically work as an app. But when it comes to personal mode, it works as a personal app, right? Dedicated to your local machine, to your local data source, into Power BI service. That's how it works. So it's very dedicated and very restricted for a single user. So that's what it elaborates once again. And then runs as a single user with user credentials. Once again, it's the same point that I'm raising. So basically, it's personal, and there are multiple users will not be accessing that, and that means it's not team compatible, right? You can't use it within a team. You can use it personally, and ideally, if these personal gate modes, personal mode gateways were introduced for people like business analysts who wants to develop a report really quick, data model and a report really quickly, and just publish it in and just show some output very quickly in a very quickly with where there is no much team-based integration kind of thing, team-based there is no much of a team-based thing there. So it's just a single person that who wants to get a particular task done and use a personal mode and just gets that done by connecting to the local data sources, on-prem data sources to Power BI service. So it's that kind of a thing. And the other criteria is import data and set up scheduled refresh. So basically what that means is the import data, you can import data. The import data option, I think I talked about it in the last session. You have basically three types of modes in which you can bring in data. One is import, the other is direct query, and there is another one called dual. But it's mainly into direct query and import, right? So in this, what it says is it allows data import, and basically it allows scheduled refreshes, which means you can schedule data refreshes to happen in that particular time with reference to the on-prem data sources. And then the other option is the direct query support, which is the other mode in which you can get the data in. So that is only available in the Power BI standard gateway, standard mode. That is not available in the personal mode. Then the final option is supported for live connection to analyst services. So that's obvious, right? Because analysis services is only compatible with on-premises data standard mode data gateway. So you can only use Power BI with the personal mode. So that's obvious, right? So yeah, that's about that for you guys. Just a bit of comparison for you to like understand what is used for what. So ideally, personal mode is used in a very minimal number of cases where someone needs to, a single user wants to get something done kind of thing very quickly with reference to a local data source. They will use a personal mode, and every other time it would always be a standard mode. So even in our solutions that we implement, there is no way in which we have implemented a personal mode for solution. It had been always a standard mode because what we cater is large scale, and it's not particularly you can say large scale to medium scale, and it's not particularly for a specific requirement to build one report. It could be a set of reports and a set of data models that, with some data flows to fulfill one high level requirement. So for that kind of a situation where you refer to multiple data sources and you will need to uh, you will need to facilitate multiple users. So under such circumstances, it is always standard mode for us. I simply don't have a practically, I had done it for practice, but I haven't practically implemented personal mode in industrial solutions. So that's just a bit of insight on that. Right. So we talked a lot about these two types of data gateways, which are essential for you to understand. So I hope that you guys have a clear understanding of these database gateways right now. So now it's time for us to configure an appropriate data gateway so that we can use it for basically we can use it for our requirement. So I had done that already here. Right here, so my data gateway is online, and I had provided the respective configurations, and I would just take you guys much as I can in this installation process. And since I have already installed that, I don't think I can go that far with it. But yeah, so first thing first, you just need to click on this download standard mode, and basically the gateway should start downloading. And basically I had done that, so I would not be wasting time downloading that. And then you click on the you will file called installation file called gateway install will be downloaded, and basically you click on that. So as you can see, when I click on that, since my gateway is already installed, so I am getting a message like this. But what happens with you guys is when you click on that, basically when you click on that, you would be asked two options: whether you want to migrate an existing data gateway or whether you want to register a new data gateway. So it should be always, if you guys are first time user, it should be always register a new data gateway. And after doing that, you have to provide a gateway name, and you have to provide something called a recovery key. So a recovery key is very important because every time, just think you of a situation where you reformatted your local machine. You practice a few things in this, and you reformatted your local machine. The only way you can get those data gateway configurations back is with the by entering the recovery key. So recovery key is something like a password. So make sure that you put in something that you remember for that. And basically you just save those details. Basically you click on the configure button afterwards, and your data gateway is ready. And that's basically it for that. In terms of how you can install your data gateway. And after you do the installation, if you head right into, I will use a carpenter mode. So if you head right into the top panel of Power BI service, right? Power BI service. So you will see an option called settings, right? So basically you will see a gear icon. When you hover it, it says settings. So you click on that, and you would be headed into multiple options saying manage group storage, view content pack, admin portal, manage gateway settings, manage embed codes. So at this stage, we'll be looking at manage gateways. Just click on manage gateways, and you should be able to see your gateway right here. After you do that installation, and it says it's online as it does right here. When it says online here, it should appear here. So you can see FTD Himantha, is available here as well without any problem. And inside that you have multiple data sources, right? So under these multiple data sources are basically connections to respective data sources. So this is like an overall connection to my local server, and this is like the connection to a respective database in my local server. So I can test these connections, and if I want, I can add a new data source or remove an existing data source, and I can play around with that. So just to show you guys around, I would maybe create a new data source. So just click on add new data source, and in that what you basically do is provide a name for the data source. In this case, it's I would say AW Adventure Works. The name does not look good, so let me just, yeah, that looks okay. And basically what I want to use is a SQL Server, and I'll click on that, and in here I should provide my server name. So in my local, I would like to give my local server name in which my local machine is in, so which is this. I would provide that, and then I would provide my database as well. It would be AdventureWorks 2017 as I remember, and authentication method would be Windows, and under Windows it should be my respective authentication with the domain that I'm in, the tenant that I'm in, and basically your password. That's about it, and all you need to do is add the data source, and you can see it's successful, and you can so successful means that there is no problems with that. So even if you test all these connections, you should be able to be all right. Right. So we are connection successful, all good here. So we have basically created a gateway, Power BI gateway now, and inside the gateway we had also created a respective source to refer in our data model. And the next thing what we want to do is we want to refer to our data model. Refer this gateway to our data model. To do that, once again, come back into your Power BI workspace that you created previously, and click on the ellipsis that you see right in front of the data model, and click on settings, and you would be headed into setting, basically place with this kind of settings. So what you want to do is go to gateway connections, and you can see my gateway connection is always there. It basically uses gateway, but I need to select which data source it should refer to. So I would say it should refer to gateway. I'm not really getting this option. Not sure why, but for the moment, maybe we can go ahead with that, and it should be all right. Basically, you will get. Let me just see what I can do about it. This is all right. So, sorry, once again, I will take that. And what I will be doing is this one, see why this is coming this way, and like this one shows the other options. It just shows local host AdventureX. I can just go ahead with that, but I'm not really getting that option. Not sure why that is. Was it because I didn't do a refresh? Let me do a quick refresh and see how it works. Right. So that's something. But for you guys to know, just So you have the gateway connection option here. Just go inside that, and you should be able to see the gateway that you had configured right here. And it says it should be default. It should default say on, and basically you would see an option called maps to here, and in that it should basically what you can do is you can add a gateway here itself. Basically, you can add a gateway over basically a data source from here itself, but you can't really refer to that previous data gateway that here. Not sure about why that is, but let me just, since you guys will be heading in this direction, I would create a new data set here. I would create a new data source here, so that it's clear enough for you guys to go ahead. So my connection would be once again 2017 the I would say SQL DB here, and I would just give my local source should be good. So and it will be Windows connections, and I would give my service real quick. And I would just head on it like this, and it's all done. So you should be able to see the option right now here. It does not. Was it because I didn't do a refresh once again? Let me just check that, since that would be essential for you guys. Yeah, not really. I think it's referring. I think it's because I'm assuming it's because all these connections are referring to the same data source and the same database. It appears this way. I'm not really sure about the reason why that is, but for now, let's move ahead with this. I hope you guys have a clear understanding in terms of how you can configure your gateway. So basically, provide the data source connection here under maps to. Under the drop down, just click on the data source, and that's about it. And just click on apply, and basically your gateway is configured into your data model now, and you shouldn't have any problem with that, and you shouldn't have a problem with that. And basically you can head back into your data model in the workspace, and you can do a refresh and see how it works. It should go on smoothly. You can see that a rotating icon is visible, which means it's refreshing, and the time should be updated for the time right now once it is done. Right, there you go. The refresh went on smoothly, and we didn't have any problem with that. So that's the third demo is completed. We had configured the gateway, and that move takes us to data flows, which is the core section of this session. So data flows are primarily used for data preparation. You can say self-service data preparation as well, because as with Power BI datasets, it uses Power Query for data preparation. So it's same, and simply anyone can use it. You don't need to have any technical knowledge to do data preparation with Power BI data flows. So and there are various use cases for Power BI data flows. You can even create an entire data warehouse with the use of Power BI data flows. But of course, you need Power BI Premium to make it work, because some of the features in data flows are referring to Power BI Premium. So in this scenario, in this training, what we'll be looking at is the consolidating entities or consolidating dimensions use case. We'll be referring to that. Basically, what it does is it generalizes the dimensions of the entities that are used in the data model so that it can be reused. So if you don't get that, it's fine. In the next demo, you will get what that is. Sorry about that. First thing, talking about the use case. Now we have a workspace, right? And we have a data model in that workspace, which is the internet server data model. with these dimensions and a fact table called internet search, right? Then after a while, another requirement comes up saying that you want to bring another new data model for resellers, and that would come. Now you should be able to see that the dimensions are basically the data preparation done in the dimensions, so the transformations and all the cleansing done in the dimensions in these two models are the same and are repeating, right? For example, you have the calendar table in the reseller sales data model, and you have the calendar table in the internet sales data model. You have the customer table in the internet sales and customer sales in reseller sales. Same with the product, right? So this is basically replicating, and it's not a good thing, right? So what you want to do is you want to create a centralized environment where you can access, you centrally manage these dimensions which are duplicating, and it can be used for multiple data models as per your preference, which would look something like this. So you have the Workspace, and then you have the centralized environment, which is the Power BI data flow with output tables for calendar, customer, and product inside this data flow. And this will be referred, and data models will be created with reference to these output tables in the data flow, and the data models created, the logic in those data models created for the dimensions will not be replicating because it's handled centrally and done. It's executed centrally, and all that the data model does is refers this data, the entities, output tables, and does its job. Right. So that's about that for you guys, and that would take us. And basically, what we'll be doing now is we'll be migrating. So in order to facilitate this, this is if I take you back to the data model that I already have, which is the Power BI desktop data model. This does not need any support. This does not need Power BI data flows to run. It runs standalone, which is like this particular slide that I showed you previously. It runs standalone, and once another data model comes in, again, if it uses the same dimensions in the same entities, the logic will replicate once again. So it's basically, you can say, a standalone or independent data model. And what you want to do is basically make it dependent with Power BI data flows by referring to dimensions. So for that, we need to do a bit of migration, right? So let's see how we can do that. For that, let's head down into our next demo, which is migrating the customer dimension. So we have three dimensions: product, customer, and calendar. So firstly, let's look at how we can migrate the customer dimension, and next the product dimension, and afterwards the calendar dimension, and we will see how it works. Right. First thing is basically you need to create a data flow, right? So you head down into your Power BI desktop, and in Power BI desktop, Power BI service, and in Power BI service, just click on the new option you see right on the top of your respective workspace, and click on the data flow option. After you click on the data flow, just click on define new tables option. There are other options as well. Let's just focus on the core use case of this training session, so which is defining new tables. So let's do that, and add new tables. Click on the add new tables option, and you can see, as with the Power BI desktop I showed you in the previous training session, in the Power BI data flows, in the Power BI desktop dataset, as with comparison to the Power BI desktop dataset, you can see that in Power BI data flows as well, you have a wide range of data sources that you can refer to and keep data in. So in this case, once again, I'll be using the SQL Server database, right? And what I'll be doing is I would be dropping my server name in once again, as I did with the data flow in the as I did with the data gateway in the previous demo. And since I had already entered these details before, it had saved my details and as an encrypted connection. So I don't want to retype that again. So if it's you, you will have to retype it and make sure that your credentials you entered are right. So I would enter my database name for my ease as well. It's AdventureWorks 2017 and click on the next option at the right bottom of the window, and right there you should see the list of tables and views that basically the functions that you had used in your SQL Server database, which is the AdventureWorks DB. In here, what you want to do is you want to select your customer dimension, right? You want to select customer, and the other one you want to select will be person. Because if you remember from the previous session, we used two tables, person and customer, to create, consolidate, and create the customer dimension in Power BI Desktop. We'll do the same here as well. So for that, we need to refer to two tables. I had done that, and click on the transform data option. After clicking on the transform data option, I don't want to replicate everything all over again. I don't want to replicate the logic that I did in my Power BI Desktop all over again. All I need to do is head down to my Power BI Desktop and just click on the customer entity and click right click on it. Basically, click on it and click on the edit query option, and you should be able to. You will be heading down into the Power Query view as here, and in the Power Query view, what you want to do is basically go to Advanced Editor in the Home tab under Query, Advanced Editor, and just Control A, Control C, copy it, and go down and paste that under the Advanced Editor in the Home tab under Query in your data flow. There might be connection concerns here, so basically type out the connections again if that turns up. So as you can see, it's the same here. So I would just click on connect, and it should be all right this time around. Right. So that is sorry about that. I just made a mistake there. So I should be referring to. I refer to an incorrect table. So I would do that all over again really quick. First thing is go to SQL Server database, and I would just enter the server name in. And since I had since I had already used these credentials, I don't want to type it. And I would just enter the database name here as well. And I will click on next. When I click on next, I should get this kind of option, and where I would get all the views, functions, and the tables that I used in this particular database. So what I want to select is the tables that I want to consolidate and create a customer dimension that says the customer and person. So I clicked on that and clicked on transform data. And after clicking on transform data, I should go into the customer entity and basically copy and paste these details. Copy and paste the Power Query logic from Power BI Desktop. And go to Advanced Editor once again, and what you do is paste it and click on OK. And you have referred to the same thing again. I think it's because I referred to person previously, and that just recites. I will continue evaluation. because yeah, so in Power BI Desktop I had not referred to person, I had referred to person. So what I did was I just came here and renamed this as person, and I'll come in here and rename this as customer. So basically you have the same dimension that you created in Power BI Desktop right here in Power BI Data Flows as well, right? You are smooth off with that. And what I want to do now is basically, I don't want to load this, so I would not enable load, but it would definitely refresh in the background. So it's basically the same option that I applied to the Power BI Desktop in the previous training session. And that's basically I disable load. So if you can see that when you go to the person table, and if you can see that enable load is not ticked in. I had unticked it, which means it will not load as an output table into your Power BI data set. And it's the same here as well. It will not load as an output table into your Power BI data flows, right? So my customer dimension is consolidated and is ready to go. So I would save and close this, and it would basically give me the customer dimension now. And I want to save my data flow right now, so I would call it. I would call it. Yeah, maybe live dimensions for clearer understanding. Dimensions. That should be okay. Dimensions d.qs. But that's something I'm always concerned about. So I would say dimensions data flow, that should be okay for now, since this is just a demo. So I would do that, and I would save my data flow. And if I come back into the high level of my workspace, which is something I can access from the top here or from the side panel on the workspace thing. So if I come back, you can see that I have a data flow now called dimensions data flow, and it is visible, and it's a like dark brown color. It's a dark brown color icon for the data flow. So you can see that, and I had basically done that. And if you navigate inside that data flow, you should be able to see the customer dimension. So the customer dimension is migrated successfully, and now what you want to do is you want to just get back into this model that you created, and you want to just take off this customer and refer to the customer that's in the data flow, right? So I will take off this customer, basically delete this from the model, delete from model, and this will go out. And I would refer to what I would do next is I would refer to Power BI data flows and refer to that prospective output table in the Power BI data flow that we just created. And for that, of course, they asked my credentials again, so I'm connecting with that, and hopefully there are no connection issues. All right, so let's give it a minute till the window pops up, and there you go. Now, all the workspaces that has data flows will pop up right in this section. So you can see right at the bottom, you can see a Power BI training Bangladesh, which is the workspace that I created for this purpose. And you can see my data flow inside that, and inside the data flow, you can see the customer table, customer dimension, I consolidated. All you need to do is just click on load, and it could just bring you the table that you already had there. So it calls customer 2. I'm not really sure why that is. Let me just rename that out. That should look good. Okay, it says it's already there. Maybe it's already there in the back end. Is that the case? So let me just quickly get down into the Power Query view, And yes, you can see that. So what you would want to do is you want to take these two off, right? You don't need that anymore because you do this consolidation in your data flows. So I click on those two and I took that off. I'm not sure what's happening. I will delete this. Well, customer cannot be deleted because it's been verified by another query service. Okay, so that means we'll have to bring in the sales once again as well, because it's being referred to this particular table. So that is fine, right? So what you can do is you can copy the Power Query in cells and keep it in a separate location. So I guess I would just keep it in a any code editor you like, or even a notepad, that should be okay. What you do is you keep and basically you will have to take these two tables off. I think this would be enough. Basically take the sales table off and recreate the sales table once again. Right. Let me just see if there is a much more effective way to do that. So it's here, that's fine. So here comes the problem, right? So what I want to do is, so I'll not like delete the entire thing. It's not a good practice and it's a waste of effort as well. So what I'll do is maybe try and change the table that it refers to custom to. I'm sorry, not that. So to this particular column, and I would not worry about privacy levels at this stage. So I would click on OK, and I would click on. I would just leave it as it is, the rest of the stuff, and I had done that. I had basically changed the reference from of the fact table from the former from the previous customer table into the new customer table that I just brought in. You can see it's just two Power Query steps. The reason we don't see data is I didn't do a refresh in data flow set, but after I do that, you should be able to see that. So what I'll do is take off these two Power Query steps. I will take off these two Power Queries because I don't need that anymore. And I would rename this customer to customer. So, and I would just close and apply. I think I'll have to refresh the data model to get an appropriate relationship. Let's see how that works out. No, so I had created a relationship appropriately without any problem. So what I'll do next is I just want to unhide the unwanted columns once again. So I don't want my users to be the source custom ID. So I would hide that, and basically that's it. So you have referred, if I just go back to edit query once again, you have done all your work, all your consolidation in data flows, and what you have done in data sets is just referred to this data flow output table in the data flow. And this way you can create multiple data sets and refer the same dimension and basically create multiple data models without repeating the same logic multiple times. Hope you get that. So I would not be running a refresh since refreshers might be getting time. And the next thing I'm going to do is I want to go into the next demo, which is migrating the product dimension, which is same as with the customer dimension. I would head back into my data flow once again, and I would click on, so I don't want to click on add table. add data flow from the beginning, right? I can add the uh, new output tables or the new dimensions into my existing data flow itself. So what you do is you head into your existing data flow and you can see the add tables option right at the top of the screen. Click on the add tables option, and after you click on the add tables option, once again you have to go through the same process where you go to SQL Server database, and again you should enter your credentials. And once again DB for your A's. Right, that is done, and click on next, and you should be heading back into the same list of items, components that are in your database once again, and you should select your product dimension. Let me see what the issue is right here. Adventure Works 2017, sorry about that, guys. Right, so I'm heading back to the same list, and in here I would quickly navigate to production product, I guess. Yes, production product, and I would click on transform data, and the same thing I will be doing here as well. I would be getting down into the product dimension, and I'll be getting into the advanced editor. And inside the advanced editor, I will be copying the logic, and I would be pasting that in my the advanced editor in my data flow, and click on OK, and click on product, and just enter the appropriate name product, and you can see that I have the same dimension here once again. I will click on save and close. So I have created that dimension here as well. Once again, what I will be doing next is I would be going into my Power Query view, and in the Power Query view, the first thing I'll do is I would, in the Power Query view itself, you can create the new table within the new table. So what I would do is I would basically, you can refer the new table in a different way, but I think I will not go into that level. I will close this and come back and show the usual process, since most of them are beginners here. So I would just click on, once again, I'm back into my normal Power BI desktop view, and in here I would select Power BI data source once again, and it will once again provide me the options where I have data flows in, where I have workspaces, where I have data flows in, and you should be able to see the product dimension here. And I would click on transform data this time around, because there are a few reference changes that I want to do for the sales fact table. So I had done that for customer, and I want to do the same thing once again for product. So how I do that for product is, once again, you just click on this gear icon right next to the query step, and you should head down to the merge window, and in that you should select your new product table, and basically you select your respective field and click on OK, and you should be all right. And you have your new you have your sales fact table referring to the new dimension. And what you want to do next is take off this product, which is the existing logic. You can see there are many steps. All of them are handled, consolidated, and handled centrally in Power BI data flow. So I will take that off here, and I would rename this to product. I would just close and apply, and it's the same process once again, and it is done. And this takes us to our final 12 minutes and the final demo of the day, which is basically the calendar dimension. But before that, first what I'll do is I'll create a relationship with product and the sales fact table. It had been taken off because I had to refer the product dimension all over again from the new data flow that I created. So that is done. So we had basically referred our dimensions accordingly. So the next thing I want to do is just move the calendar dimension, which is a bit complicated, but not overly complicated. And if you can, as you remember previously, what I did was I created this calendar table with some tabs, right? So this time around we will be doing the same with Power Query. And how I do that, to be honest, I'm not doing that with my own Power Query logic. I'm not really good at writing Power Query, even though I can do all the I can do most of the transformations and cleansing with Power Query with the UI itself. I'm not good at writing the logic. So for that, I refer an amazing article written by Reza and Leila, which is basically about what it says is all-in-one script to create date dimension in Power BI using Power Query. So that's the article I'm referring to. So you should be able to get that if you just type in all-in-one to create date dimension. You should be able to get that as your first option, and just click on it, and you will have all the details very nicely in that article. So I would not be taking you through that article, but what I will be doing is I will be using the same script. So you can download the script from here. So you can click on this particular Power Query script for the dimension, and it should download as a text file into your local machine. And so I had done that previously, and I have the script. So I would just copy the script and take you around the script. I would basically use the script, show you how to use the script in data flows, and take you around the script so that you guys can get a better understanding in terms of what's been done in the script. So it's a very a bit of a complicated script if you look at it in the high level, but it's not at all complicated. But once again, really good job done by Reza and Leila there. Really useful for developers. They don't need to write this from scratch. They can refer this script and do their necessary amendments and use that for industrial use. So that's a really good job done there. So once again, I would be using the same script here as well. So for that, once again, I would be clicking on that table, going into my data flows and clicking on the add tables option. And inside the add tables option, what I'll be doing this time, I will not be referring to a SQL Server database, right? I would be referring into a blank query, because this time around, I'm going to create my script. I'm going to create my calendar table with Power Query itself as a blank query. So for that, so I am copying the script. This is the script. If I just show you, so I'm just copying this script. I had opened this, and I will be copying this script and pasting it right here. And the next thing I will do is click on next, and you should see that a calendar table, it will be a beauty. It could be just right there by just few Control-C's and Control-V's, but it's important for you to understand what is happening inside this, which is the most important thing. So firstly, there are a few functions happening in here. Basically what happens here is you can say basically what can say basically kind of variables that are happening here to capture like which duration you want to. Yep, it's variables. Basically you can use to understand for which duration you want to create and generate this calendar table for. It's right here. So these are the variables. You can just configure that straight up, and you can select the start of the fiscal year, from which year you want to the date table in, to which year do you want the date table for, and basically this is actually something default, nothing to change here as I know. Yeah, nothing to change here. So you can change the year you want to start with, year you want to end with, and the fiscal year when it's starting, the starting month of the fiscal year. And basically that's it for the configuration. This is it, and it will do the job in this part of the script. So if I take you for this core part of the script, and take you a bit around that. I'm not going to overwhelm you guys with this, but let me just take you a bit around that. So first thing what happens is it takes the dates as a list, right? It takes the dates in as a list here. Sorry. It takes the dates in as a list here, and that is converted into a table and with a respective column. And that column is renamed in the next step, and the rename column is basically formatted. Yeah, formatted in the sense the data type of that column is changed to date, because when it's a list, it's basically text, and when it's converted into a table, you can convert it. After converting it to a table, you can convert the data type of the date column into date, and after doing that, you can basically refer that date column and add the columns. You can add year, you can add start of the year, you can add end of year, and so on. You can go on with it. So it's very simple to do that. You yourself can do that very easily. Just right click on the respective date column, and basically after right clicking on the date column, you can either convert it to year, start of the year, end of the year, quarter, start, quarter of year. You can do all this stuff by yourself also without using the script. So that is a great benefit that that's provided by Power BI also. So, but nevertheless, the script is very useful. As you can see, I just created my date table with a very complicated date table with just a couple of control C's and control V's, right? So I had created this calendar table. And what I would be doing next is I would be saving and closing this, as I did with the other output tables, and that calendar output table should appear for me here, right here. So that is done. And the next thing I want to do is I want to get back into my model, and I want to take this off. I don't want to do this with DAX and keep it independent for every data model. I want to have a centralized calendar table with the data flow I created, and I want to refer it to all the other data models. So I would delete this, delete from model. After doing that, I would refer my new calendar table, complicated and a very nice calendar table in my data flow. So that is that is in Power BI Training. And I would refer you can see the calendar table under this is our Power BI Workspace, and this is our data flow, and inside the data flow we would be able to see the calendar table. And don't need to click on transform data because there is no configuration for you to change here. No, because it's not being referred by fact table. So just click on load. And that particular fact table should be referred very beautifully in here. So a particular calendar table should be referred here, should be available here. So it's available, and I just want to do a refresh. Let's see if we can get some time to do a refresh. I have 2 minutes now. Right. So what I'll do is, as with what I did previously with the calendar table, I would be referring it to the order date in the sales fact table to the date in the calendar table, and I would be building a relationship. So that is done. Basically, you had taken your data model into the next level, and the next thing what you want to do is basically you want to just publish this, and I will be publishing this model into the same workspace. So remember, when it's publishing, there will be no changes to the configurations you did previously, right? So it would remain the name. It's just that the model content would change. So in this case, I would just click on the same data model, same workspace, and click on select. Sorry about that, guys. So sorry. So click on click basically click on the same, sorry, yeah, just a bit of flop there. So just click on the workspace, and when you click on the workspace, you will get an option whether to, there is already a dataset name with this particular name, and whether you want to replace that kind of thing. So I want to replace that. So I would replace that. So what happens is the data model content will only change. The configurations that are done in Power BI service will not change. It could remain the same, right? So that is done. So I have taken my model into the next level with Power BI data flows here, and you can see my data flow is available and the data model is available. Now the only thing left for you to do is to basically refresh the data flow in the first place, because after doing the refresh, because you have to refresh the data model after refreshing the data flow, because output tables in the data flow are referred to the data model. So in order to reflect whatever the data that are in order for the data in the data flow in the output tables of the data flow to reflect in the data model, you need to make sure that the data flow is refreshed first and the data model is refreshed in the second place. So we are right on time, but the refresh seems to be getting a bit of time. I'm not sure whether I had configured, yeah, I had configured the gateway, no problems there, but it might get a bit of time, but I would not be taking any more time from you guys. So just what I would say is I would cover this refresh section in the next session as well. All you need to do is refresh this particular dimension data flow and basically refresh dimension data model, and the data will be reflected nicely in your data model as previously. So that's it to do. So if you guys had completed up to this stage, please try that out, and it would be really good. And if you guys are first timers for this session and wasn't able to come to the previous session, please look at the video of the first session in YouTube, and after that get back to this, otherwise it will be a bit confusing for you guys to grab it. So please do that, and thank you very much, Azan, once again for having me in. It was a privilege to speak at Tech Forum, Tech Community once again, and to communicate and to contribute to the community. So it's great that such training sessions are introduced for the community to upskill the professionals into the next level. So I hope I provided an appropriate contribution in this journey, and more sessions to come. And please, if you guys have some feedback on these sessions, use the QR code you can see on your screen right now and provide any kind of feedback. There are no restrictions for the feedback. You can simply provide anything. And if you guys are unable to access this particular QR code, you can always use the link. I would copy and paste the link in the chat below. So I'm sorry, but I don't see the chat today. So yeah. So thank you very much, Azan, for having me. And I can see a question from a guest.
Assalamualaikum. I am Enamul. Can I question?
Right. Yes, sure.
This topic, other topics I want to question. There are 1,000 users for my organization, and I will deploy to a Power BI. How many license cost per month or per year? Can
right.
Get?
All right. If it's 1,000 if it's 1,000 users, and it depends on the number of users who will be using Power BI. Thank you very much for your question. So if I explain that, it depends on the number of users who actually want to use and will be using Power BI. From out of those 1,000, if it's like 200, around 300 to 200 using. If around 200 300 employees are using Power BI, I think a pro license would do. I'm not really sure about the accurate costings, but you have to select between pro and premium at this stage licensing based on the number of users who will be using it. So there's a basically calculation you need to do. Basically, a pro license, a single pro license costs $9 per month. So if you want to check it for a year, it's 9 into 12, and basically into the number of employees, and you have to check that amount with basically the premium, the appropriate premium capacity that you guys want to go ahead with, right? So if those two match up, basically from that you should select the appropriate costing option and go ahead with that. It's not something I can give you an accurate figure on right now. That's something we have to investigate further, and that's something that should be decided then, rather than that should be decided with further investigation. So that's a bit of insight on that. So simply, you have to select between Power BI Pro license and Power BI Premium license. And you basically, if there are more users using Power BI, like around 500 to 600 users, roughly Premium would be the most appropriate. But if there are a less number of users using Power BI, around 100, 150, then I think Pro would do. But it's, once again, it's not something I can, this is something I roughly gave you, roughly mentioned you, but it's not something I can accurately tell you. It's something we'll have to investigate further and figure out what is the accurate way to go ahead with this and what will be the accurate cost of this. Yeah, thank you, Enamal. I hope I answered your question appropriately.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Timantha, for your nice session, and we expect it will be very much helpful for the career of the professionals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enamal, I hope I answered your question. Was that good enough?
Enamal, you have to unmute your.
Hello. Yes, I will be calculated and get the answer. I got the answer.
Right. Nice. You just,
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I will be calculated. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, so any of you guys, if you have any problems, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. Yes.
Timantha, there is someone else who want to ask some question.
Yeah, sure. Hi. Yes.
Is there anyone?
You can shoot your question.
No. Okay, it's okay. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Azan. Guys, have a great learning evening ahead. So 2 more sessions to go. So I hope you guys will got something good out of my session, and you will get something really great from the sessions coming ahead as well. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to inform you one thing, that if you have missed the first session, then you can find it in the YouTube channel, and hope it will be helpful. So now we are going towards the second session on blockchain. Mr. Asif will take the session, and he is a blockchain professional, and hope it will help us. Thank you very much, Mr. Asif. Bye.
Yes, thank you, Ehsan bhai. Thanks for organizing the session. Thank you, Timantha. It's a really nice session on Power BI. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Asif, and all the best on your session. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Asif, and thanks for joining today. Many thanks to Ehsan bhai and other organizers for organizing this session. Let me share my screen. Ehsan bhai, are you able to see my screen? Ehsan bhai, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Sure. Thanks, Ehsan bhai, for organizing the session and other organizers as well. I'm Mohammad Asif Bakar. I'm a Microsoft MVP on Azure platform, currently working in Singapore. I have done many certification on Azure blockchain, and I have quite good experience in blockchain. And this is part 2 of the series of blockchain series. In part 1, we have discussed about the basics of blockchain and app development. And in this part, I'm going to discuss about smart contracts, which is means if you want to write some business logic on the blockchain network, so you have to write the smart contracts, and I'll discuss some security concepts. and whatever the app will develop today. So this session is going to be, if you haven't attended the first session, I will just do some recap of the part 1, and then we'll go for part 2. And this session is going to be completely on end-to-end how we'll develop a blockchain application and we'll deploy on different blockchain network, maybe on your local or Azure or AWS, wherever you want to do that. So in today's session, you will get the whole idea how we start if you are completely new to the blockchain. So you will get the idea how we can, what are the tools we need to use, and what are the things we need to install, and how we need to write the smart contract logic, and what are the tools available for writing the smart contracts, and what are the security standards and things we need to consider in terms of while we are writing a smart contract or any blockchain application. So in today's agenda, we'll discuss about the smart contracts, type of smart contracts, ERC tokens, which is Ethereum standard tokens, means why we need to write ERC tokens, and then we'll go for the demo. In part 1, we in today, so in part 1, we have discussed why we need a blockchain and how it solves the real problem. We have seen the use case of buying a property. While buying a property, there are many different parties, and what are the problems we faced, and then how the blockchain solves the problem in terms of real-time review, proof of ownership. You know that who from where exactly it started, and this automated settlement using the smart contract and decentralized execution. So these all things we discuss in part 1. And then we discussed the type of blockchain we can use, means like there are public blockchain like Ethereum and Bitcoin. These are the public blockchains, so anyone can participate in that. And there are private blockchains, so only certain organizations, they perform some kind of business only in the organization. So those are the private blockchain, and consortiums are like there are different groups and they want to join a network. They want to do some kind of transaction like supply chain, licensing, tourism, hotel. So in that type of network is known as a consortium network. And when we talk about the private, so suppose if you want to do some kind of document management or asset management or governance subsidiary, so those type of organizations create the private blockchain network. And public blockchain, basically like in Singapore, Singapore have government done for giving the Singapore Airlines points. They have made one application, and there are health records for maintaining the health records. So those kind of application can be built on public blockchain network. So I will be discussing bit both of them, means like how you can do that. And after that, we discuss about the Ethereum architecture. So while if you want to do a blockchain development, so what are the things you need to consider in terms of architecture point of view? So we discussed that first of all, we need to have an Ethereum network, so which you can create locally also. There are some predefined already available services like Infura and Ropsten network or other networks. So they provide test networks also. You can also create your own network in locally. That's a tool called Ganache we use for creating a local network. And Azure and AWS also provide the services for creating the Ethereum network. And to communicate that network, we need some kind of Ethereum client. So Ethereum client in today's demo, I will show that how we'll connect with the Ethereum client with the help of Web3.js. So Web3 is a kind of client which helps to connect to Ethereum network, and we will use for local development. We have a plugin called MetaMask, which basically acts as a mediator to connect to the blockchain network. Either it's a local or maybe a cloud network or anywhere. And then we have seen what are the tools we need for the blockchain development. For suppose if you are going for the local development, so you need Ganache. And if you want to deploy on Azure blockchain, you can deploy that. So that's a cloud network. So in place of that Azure blockchain, there can be AWS as well, both having a blockchain as a service. Azure is going to discontinue the blockchain as a service, but they have provided an option for creating a network by using template. I will show going forward. And for doing the development, we need two basically the main tools. One is the Truffle. Truffle is basically for your management of your project. So in the previous part 1 demo, I have showed how with the help of Truffle, how we can create the project. And we need a Ganache for local development. And if you don't want to do smart contract development in locally, so there is already a predefined tool available, which is called Remix IDE. I will show how we'll develop how we'll write the smart contract logic with the help of Remix. Because sometimes, suppose if you don't have any local network or maybe the cloud network, but you want to write and test the logic with the help of a smart contract. So the IDE is very helpful in that type of scenario. So in today's session, we will discuss on smart contract functioning. So let's talk about, so let's take a same use case which we have discussed earlier in part 1 about means like for buying the property. So suppose if you want to, that you are a buyer or seller and you want to buy the property, and we saw that there is a problem like suppose if you want to buy a property, so you know that this property is legitimate or not, or to avoid that kind of scenario, what we discussed previously is with the help of blockchain, all the parties will come on the same platform and they can perform the transaction, and the terms and conditions between those parties will be written in terms of smart contracts like on the blockchain network. So we will write the logic, whatever the terms and conditions, if you are writing for any application, that will be in terms of smart contracts and which will be deployed on the blockchain nodes. And these smart contracts will be triggered with the help of events or maybe self execution. So that's how you can you can set up accordingly based on your need. So in this, basically it'll be more on the deals between the parties. If it means like when we are discussing about the blockchain network, so deals between the parties will be in terms of terms and conditions. These terms and conditions will be with the help of a smart contract. In current scenario, there are 4 types of smart contracts. Basically, in smart contract with the legal contracts. Suppose if you want to have some kind of legal terms and conditions, suppose means like I'm doing some kind of project, and if the project is completed up to certain stage, so we need to get the money, and those process you want to automate with the help of smart contracts, and because you don't trust the parties, you means like so it might be the scenario that there are third parties involved, and those third parties, what they will do, they will block the money for some period of time, and once the project is completed, so they will release the money. So that kind of conditions can be in terms of legal contracts. So they will make the legal smart contracts, and those smart contracts will be executed once the payment or approval is done, or yeah, that's kind of scenario. And second will be a decentralized autonomous, means like there will be multiple smart contracts combined with a government mechanism, like it will be same part of kind of legal contract, but it will be with the different parties, and there might be multiple smart contracts on top of it, and there will be hierarchy of the smart contracts. And the third is distribution apps. So that's called D apps. So combine of smart contracts and codes. And in today's demo, like we have smart contracts for the to-do list, or we have a smart contract for the smart means like asset transfer. So asset transfer, it might be like for buying the smart contract, there are certain different terms and conditions. For selling the some goods, there are certain different terms and conditions. So all those smart contract logic, if we combine in a one or maybe, so that can be a DApps that will deploy on the blockchain network. And third will be like smart contract with the help of devices. So if you want to perform some means like operations with the help of IoT, and means like the data is coming from different multiple IoT sources, and it's being processed with the help of blockchain. So you know that which, and you are filtering the data means different sources, and then you are processing the actual information on the blockchain, which is important one. So that kind of smart contracts. Uh, so all these actually transactions are done on Ethereum network. So to perform these transactions, we need to pay, means like whenever we are doing some kind of transaction on the blockchain network, I told earlier in a public blockchain network, so because no one maintains the network. So how it runs basically. So what we do is whenever all these transactions are being performed on the network, so we need to pay a certain amount of fee on the blockchain network, which is called gas fees. And those gas fees are charged in terms of tokens. So that's why when you think when you people say about the blockchain, so the token concept comes. So token is nothing but is like a digital currency, and to maintain the fee on the network or to perform some kind of transactions, you are paying the fee with the help of token. So in public blockchain network, Ethereum is one of the second largest blockchain network. And when we are writing the smart contracts execution logic for that, so we need to pay a fee for running the contract or for executing the contract. And there are certain standards for executing those contracts, like that's called ERC standards of smart contracts, which is maintained by Ethereum network. So these ERC applications basically are levels of means like they are that can be like include a token standards, name registry, or library package. So in these they apply for all these. So in this, these ARC tokens can be created by anyone actually, but author should take the responsibility to clearly know that this is standard, means like he is following the standard in current scenario. So to means like audit this kind of standards, we have a certain libraries that's called Open Sapling. So that is the organization which ensures the security of the smart contracts. There are certain types of ERC smart contracts are there. ERC20, which is a very common standard of writing the smart contracts. In this smart contract, the standard API using for fungible tokens and including the transfer balance and functionality. What is a fungible and non-fungible token? Fungible is something like which you can evaluate the value, like in terms of money. Non-fungible tokens are like assets. So if you are buying the assets, and maybe you have heard recently Twitter CEO means like first tweet was sell as an NFT. So that NFT, because that don't have any monetary value, so that's why it was created as an NFT token, because it was the first tweet and it was quite unique, and they have sold as an NFT. So they have created as a non-fungible token. So which value you cannot calculate, that will be called as a non-fungible token, and which value you can calculate and you can get the money. So that's a fungible token basically in general terms. So ERC20 contracts, standard contracts are written for fungible tokens, and they are transferable because money you can transfer from one person to another person. And same as this ERC223 is basically for protects the user for accidental contract transfer. Suppose you have certain terms and condition and you want to apply those terms and conditions, like you having bank account, but you don't want accidental transfer. Suppose if there is accidental transfer happens between the two parties, so how you can revoke those kind of transfer? So that kind of terms and conditions is written with the help of ERC 223. And actually these all type of token is means maintained and written with the help of Open Sapling smart contracts, because Open Sapling is a library which ensures the security standards as well. And ERC 721 is for the non-fungible tokens. So this can be owned and this can be transferred from one party to another party, and they owns this ownership of that. Suppose later on you want to buy some kind of very unique thing, so that might be available. You can create your own NFT and you can publish on the Ethereum blockchain network, and someone is interested in your unique art or something, so they will buy your token as an NFT. So it's something like you want to buy a painting, or you want to buy something which is like Mona Lisa painting you want to buy. So Mona Lisa painting is also available as an NFT, and you can go and bid for that and you can buy it. So that kind of token will be created with the help of ERC 721. Same for ERC 809, which is for like opposite to non-fungible token, but it is in that honors basically allowed to rent. Suppose you want to rent to, you have to buy the like painting, but you want to give someone to for rent for some days, or maybe some unique thing is there you want to give for someone for some days, and that is also possible with the help of ERC 809. And so similarly, this kind of standards tokens there are different types of standard tokens, which can be very helpful. So basically, common ERC standards defines set of token type, allowing application smart contracts to interact with the predictable. There are several advantages because these are the standards, and means like developer have to follow. So it will be like standard for all the people. They will have because a few years back there was a DAO attack and there was some code issue in the Ethereum smart contract logic, and because of that millions of dollars got a issue. So that kind of thing can be avoided if you are writing some standard smart contract. And there are different types of means like contracts also, like one is escrow contract, known as some examples of these tokens are like you can say crowd sales, means like suppose there is a ICO boom. So in that kind of means scenario, means like we can release a ERC token, or maybe the escrow contracts. Escrow contracts are something like between the two parties, third parties holds the assets, and then means like transaction is performed. So something like project is done on certain stages. So there will be, like suppose in your company some migration in work, cloud migration is going on. Okay, so some third party company is coming and he is doing the whole process, or maybe means like some organization is being sold to some other organization. So there are third parties who do such kind of jobs. So all three parties are unknown parties. So in that kind of scenario, I mean, like they don't trust each other. So in that kind of scenario, escrow contracts will be written. So they will be helpful for means like writing the means third party will hold their money, and then based on the project stages, it will be released for that. So in today's demo, what I will do is I will create a smart contract. I will show what are the things you need to know about this writing the smart contracts, and we will see the basic structure, how exactly it happens. So in today's there is a to-do list. Let me show you how it will look like. So this is the to-do list application which I have created, and in that what I'm doing is suppose I'm adding, so this is the basic functionality which I have done on the blockchain network. So once I'm creating some kind of record, it will this is the MetaMask plugin which in part 1 we discussed. This MetaMask plugin helps to connect with the local blockchain network. So local blockchain network, I have a Ganache running. So Ganache is my local blockchain network. So to set up the blockchain network locally, you just need to download the Ganache, and you need to install the MetaMask plugin, and your local blockchain network will be available for it. To communicate with this blockchain network, we need currently I have no transactions. So to communicate with this blockchain network, we need to write the smart contracts. So I have performed this transaction, and I am going to pay the fee in terms of gas for performing this transaction. So once I confirm it, so my transaction is confirmed, and let's see. Test 5 is added here. So let's see. I think the transaction will also be appear. So it takes some time. Yeah, this is the transaction which is the block 0, because this is the first transaction which is added here. And you can see the test 5, same as it is. This is my local network. What we can do, we can also create a blockchain network on the Azure blockchain platform. So that will be my second demo, which I will show that how we can create a blockchain application to do that prototyping of the blockchain network with the help of Azure blockchain. So this is my asset transfer application, which is for same buying or selling the property. We want to create a smart contract, means like between different parties. In this, you can see we have 5 members, which are buyer, owner, seller. So they will sell the properties or anything between the parties. Okay, so this is a private blockchain network. But what I have done is here, I have created a React application, which is my front-end application, and smart contract logic I have written in the Solidity programming language. And I am consuming those smart contracts in React application, and then I'm performing the blockchain. I'm performing the create a operation or complete operation with the help of blockchain network. So this is my complete operation. Let's see if it is my task is created or completed. So this is completed. Okay. So let's see how it can be done. But before that, let me go and quickly create a. Okay. Let me go and quickly create for the React application. So that I will do with PX. So first I'm going to create a simple React application, which will means in that we will create the logic for creating the task and completing the task. These are the two things which we need to write for the, because here I am doing two things. One is I am creating the task and then I'm completing the task. Yeah, I think it's being created yet. So and second thing, what we'll do is, because with the React applications, I need to connect to my local blockchain network. For that, what we need is Web3 JS, which is local Web3 JS helps you to connect with the blockchain network, either locally or maybe in cloud network. So until then, we will see that this is the remix ID. But first of all, we need to write a smart contracts also. Means this is the React application which we are creating, and to consume this means for the logical part, we need to create the smart contracts. And as I earlier mentioned, there are two means like different types of smart contracts with the help of ERC token you can write. This is a escrow contract. In escrow contract, you can see here what we have done is we have written for means like property buying and selling. So in this, first of all, we have declare our variables, and this mapping is done basically. Mapping is a variable for map our variables from like what we want to do for address to total amount. Okay, and then we have to define the state. State is a kind of logical structure for in terms of smart contracts. So let me show you. I think I have a. So if you see here, this is the first in the smart contract logic. First we'll do is we'll define the version, means like that can be defined in terms of range, because in Solidity what will happen is first of all, if you are writing some like currently it's a 0.5.2 or 0.5.1 version is going on, but it might be that some of the features are supported the older version. So what you can do is you can write in terms of range, like we can write 0.5.2 dash 0.4 point something. So it will support the version of the previous version as well. Then we have to declare the smart contracts as a class. Here I'm going to, because I'm going to do two operations. One is task create and task complete. So before that, I need to initialize the variable with the 0. task variable. So I have declared the variable in my to-do list smart contracts task count is equal to 0. And then I have declared the smart contract structure. So what I need is I need the integer ID for each task. I need ID because once I will do my second operation for completing the task, so I need ID for that. And then we have a text box, which is a content, and then we will have a status to complete, either it's true or false. So that's why I have taken as a bool. And then we have done for the mapping of the task and declared the list of a task. We have two events. One is for creation and one is for completion. Suppose if you are writing for editing and deleting, so you can write the 4 events. It's based on your need. And then we have to write the constructor to initialize the list. So means while load the application, I want to initialize the create task. So that's why I have called the function called create task. And then we have a create task function, which is we are doing the task count means increasing, and then we are updating the task count, content, and the status. And after that, once task is created, I am just initializing the another event. So this is the very basic structure of the smart contracts. It will follow in all types of smart contracts. So first of all, you need to declare the variables. Second, you need to declare the structure of the smart contracts. Then you have to write the event, whatever you are going to do. And then you have to write the constructor and functions on top of it. So I think my React application is created. So let's go and see the React. Yeah, it's ready. So basically, if you are new to React, you don't need to worry, because we will just I will explain how I'm going to write the logic, and we will work on the two files. Basically, one is app.js, and then I will create a to-do list for writing my form. So in currently, if you see, we don't, because this is the simple React applications, but I need a Web3 plugin also. So for interacting with the blockchain network. So what I will do, I will install the Web3 plugin. If anyone have any questions or like any issues, please let me know, because I'm not able to see the chat or window. Yeah. So because this is the React applications, and there is a smart contract I will write in Solidity, which I will quickly, after completing this, I will show how I will write the smart contracts in Remix or VS Code, both I will show. Because in previous part 1, we have already created this smart contracts, I think, to-do list smart contracts. Also, yeah. So what I will do is I'll create one config file, config.js. In this, I will declare two variables. One is for means like my contract address, because when I will deploy my smart contracts, whenever you deploy any smart contracts on the blockchain network, you will get a unique address. And same as it is, we need to define one another variable export, like for our ABI. Means whenever you build the smart contracts, so there will be JSON file will be generated like this. Whenever we will build this smart contracts, so there will be one JSON file will be generated, which is called like to-do list.json, and we will copy this ABI file to here. And where exactly we will deploy our list address, we will define in the config.js. And now what we need to do is we need to import our React applications if our Web3 is installed. Yeah, Web3 is also installed, so we will import the Web3. So let's import the Web3. Import Web3 from Web3, and then we will have we need to also import our config.js to-do list and ABI. So because this contract address or ABI file, the logic we will get from here. Okay, next we have to also get because this application, this app.js will be only for writing our, means like initializing the blockchain logic, and we will write the create task, or but the form logic we will write in some separate file. So what I can do is I will create a to-do list.json file. So smart contract logic I will write here. In this, because we are going to write a component, so that's why I am going to import a component here, content here, and using from the React. Let me clear this. So basically what I need to do is I will do only a few operations, like first I will create the class app extends component. Then I will load this component. And then we will have our function for loading the blockchain data. I think and then we will have a constructor here. And after that we will have two events, which is like we have created earlier, like create task and then completed task, like toggle completed. So this is the basic structure for app.js we will write. Okay, I think I have a script I will just will write with, because these, then I will explain for quickly. Let me think maybe I have here itself. app.js. So if you can see here, the thing means like when we are writing the app.js, so we will write for loading the blockchain, then we'll write the constructor which event we want to initialize, then we will write create task and completed task. So if you can see here, we are calling in this component mount the load blockchain. In load blockchain, what we are doing is, with the help of web3.js, web3, we are getting the account first, and then we are setting this account with the property called account, and we are loading the smart contracts which we haven't written yet. I will write in Solidity, and we are calling with these smart contracts which I have imported here from the config file, and then we are setting the to-do list. So after setting the to-do list, we are doing all the counts of the task. Means because I have created, I mean, like how many of tasks are there. Suppose I have created already 5 tasks, so the 5 tasks will be displayed there, and then we'll display the list of the task all. In constructor, I am loading create task and the completed task event both. And this is a task created event which is going to be created from the to-do list which I have set up here from the smart contract address. So for create task and completed task is happen here, and this is my form which is rendered, but the whole form will be from to-do list. So that's why if you can see, this is the to-do list class, which is let me make the to-do list class also. So this is a to-do list class. In to-do list. Oh, sorry, I think I have just given the wrong name. It should be JS. Yeah. So in to-do list, if you can see here, there is a form which is I have created for creating the task, and this is my input value which I am going to enter the value, means like whatever the task I want to add. Then we have a submit event, and this submit event, before that we have a checkbox. This checkbox is linked with the ID. So once task is completed, so we are applying the task completed action. This is exported as a to-do list class, and this to-do list class I have called in app.js. So suppose if you have multiple actions or multiple forms, so this is the part of React. So how you want to call, or if you are doing in the React.js or maybe Angular.js, so this is how you manage your forms. Okay, but the thing is, you need to understand how you will load the blockchain data with the help of Web3, how we'll call the smart contracts from the config, and this is the operations you need to do for otherwise other operations, like how you want to manage yourself, you can do that. Okay, so now let me create the smart contracts now. Okay, and before that, what we need to do is I need to just do a few things. Like in packet.json, I need to install 2 things. One is web3 component, web3, because I have installed the latest version, so it should be 1.5.0. Okay, and next I need to install the Bootstrap also. Sorry. This is a problem of Mac. 1 minute, sorry. Okay, let me npm install Bootstrap. Because this Bootstrap will be required for it's like just doing the CSS and Bootstrap and we have 5.0, and this I need to also import in my index.js. Bootstrap test CSS. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to write the smart contracts like suppose. So what you need to do, this is a remix ID, and if you want to write a smart contract, so what you need to do is this is the workplace. So to-do list dot solution. The last section will be to-do list dot solution. Okay. And what you need to do is you need to there's for understanding the it's like blockchain solidity language. So we need, as I earlier mentioned, we need Pragma. Pragma is a tool for compiling this smart contracts, and written is currently I have 0.5.2, the latest version. And then we have to create the class. So we need to define the contract, and class will be like a to-do list. And after that, what we need to do is we need to initialize the event. So uinit okay, then we have to define the structure of the task, like what are the variables we want to use in task variable. So we want first ID, uint ID. So you need to define and declare the variable as a uint ID, and then we have to define a string, means like which we will use for the text box, that is a content. And then we need a third variable, which is a Boolean variable, that is for completed. And this is how then what we need to do. We need to do the mapping of these tasks. And declare the variable as a public tasks. Then we have to create the event for means like create task and like task created. And in this task created, we will have two things. One is uid, uint id, and string content, and then we have third variable of boolean variable completed. All will be comma separated. The same for task completed. Just make it completed, and we'll have UID and then bool completed. These are the two things, and then we'll write the constructor for so after writing the constructor, we need to actually I have already written these smart contracts. What we'll do is once we write all this logic, so we'll do is we will deploy this smart means like after writing this constructor, then we have to write the functions like task created and task completed. So this is the basic structure for that. So what I will do is I will deploy this smart contracts with in the second tab there is a Solidity compiler. So what you need to do is you need to choose the smart contract which means version you want to choose for the compiler and the language, and you want to do auto deploy means like suppose if you're making any kind of changes, so you want to deploy. So if you see here for the to-do list, I have a mapping, then we have a task completed, task created event, then we have a constructor, and we have two functions, task create and task completed. So I can just compile this. Once I will compile this, there will be JSON file will be generated, which is this to-do list.json, and this JSON file we will refer in our to-do list application here, means config.js here. Okay, so I have already deployed to-do list in my local setup. So let me just copy the address and so this is my I have already, I will copy this. Okay, and now let me run. This is npm package.json. There is some issue with the package.json. Okay, maybe okay. I'm running in different directory. See blockchain demo. Okay. So this will be basically the application. First of all, you need a Ganache in your local, and then you have to write the smart contract in Solidity. And these smart contracts logic you. So if you can see, I already have. Okay, I think my task list is not clearly visible. Let me check my app.js. My app.js. I think there is some issue with my detailed list. I think there is some issue with my task list, which is I should at least it should show this one also, the text box. And I think there is maybe some missing code I have. Okay, so basically what we'll do is we will it's like once you create any kind of task, so it will be added in the list. So you don't need to focus on the front end part more. Like you can use the React or Angular, whatever you want. The main thing is how you're writing the smart contracts in Solidity. So once you write these smart contracts, so that will be means you need to understand the structure. Means like you need to declare the variables, you need to write the smart contracts logic, and then you have events. What are the events you want to create, like for create or complete, and then you have to write the functions based on that. Front end, anything you can use, even though you can use the normal app also. Yeah. And second is this is the blockchain application which is on Azure. So what you need to do currently, what has happened is Microsoft Azure have discontinued the blockchain as a service, which was used for Azure blockchain service, which is deprecated already. But they have option for Azure blockchain as a workbench. So in case if you are doing the development on if you want to deploy the blockchain application Ethereum network on Azure, so you have two options. One is using by Ethereum proof of authority consortium, which is a template, predefined template available on the blockchain network. So you can create a Ethereum network using Ethereum proof of authority consortium, or either you can go for create the Azure blockchain workbench. If you want to do some kind of testing and prototype, I think Azure blockchain workbench is very helpful. What you need to do is you need to go and choose your subscription and fill your all details and database password or all those things. This will be needed. So you can create the blockchain workbench. I have already created the blockchain workbench. What you need to do is you need to upload the JSON file of your smart contract, which is your ABI file. In Remix, when I build a smart contract, so there was a JSON file generated. So this JSON file and this solution file we need to upload here. So like currently I have already uploaded for Azure blockchain workbench. So I think not this. Okay. So that's why this smart asset transfer application, which is will be, so you just need to upload the two things. One is your JSON file, API file, and then your smart contract solution file. So in this consortium, I have added 5 members, but make sure whatever the members you are going to add based on your smart contract logic, that should be registered with your Active Directory network. So I have already added all my 5 members in my Active Directory. So you can see here in the user's profile, I have all register. You can add as a guest. Suppose if it is some users are outside your network, like suppose someone wants to perform some kind of transaction which is not in your network, so you have to add as a guest user for that. So I want to perform, suppose I want to sell a motorbike. So price will be for suppose $500. So this contract is being created, and now I want to see these details of this contract. So once you create the blockchain network from here as a blockchain, this will be displayed in your resources. So let me go and show you what are the resources will be generated after that. There will be app service, which is my blockchain workbench. There will be a API. Suppose if you want to interact with any other applications, like maybe you have other .NET application or Java application, or SharePoint, Dynamics, whatever. So you can interact with the help of these API. So this is the Swagger API they have given. You can interact with this, and apart from that, there is also Azure blockchain as a service. There will be a SQL Server database. So let me go and show you how whatever the transactions I'm being performed here, I can see this data on the blockchain network. So let me enable the firewall first. So because for why I'm enabling this firewall here, because whatever the transactions I'm performing on the blockchain network, it will be shared only once I enable this. So now what I need to do is I need to go on my SQL Server database. I can query this data. Let me show. So this is my table. So I have all the users, smart contracts. So what are the contracts is written? Let's see. So there are two contracts. So you can see here there are two contracts which I have created, and I have created as an owner. Now I have members like demo 1, demo 2. So like suppose demo 1 I want to log in. So what I can do is I can log in as a demo 1. So this is the buyer, and in buyer what I can do, I can bid for this. So I can take the action and can make offer for buying this, and I will choose the inspector, means like some other party who will verify this transaction, and appraiser, and then I will offer the price like suppose 250, and we will take the actions. So if you can see, these actions are being performed on this blockchain network, and all the transaction will be created as a unique transaction. So that's how you can test your prototype app, and you can see the status is updated here. So it means like then we can log in as a James account, or we can log in as a different accounts, whoever is available here, and perform the transaction. So this is the kind of consortium network, which is like there are different multiple parties, and they are performing their operations in the network. So this blockchain workbench is very helpful in terms of while you are deploying testing your blockchain prototypes, or maybe for production purpose if you want to build application. And suppose now what I want to do is I want to deploy my to-do list application on this blockchain network. So what I will do is because I have a blockchain network created, which is my Azure blockchain as a service, which is in this network. Okay, let me show you. So this is my API, means blockchain service. So what I will do is this is my smart contracts I have created in same smart contract which I created in remix ID. I have copied here. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to deploy this on the blockchain network. So let me connect to the network. So I have installed the plugin in VS Code that's called Azure Blockchain. So let me show you. So you can see this is a blockchain development, which is by Microsoft Azure blockchain development kit for Ethereum. You need to install for then you will be able to see on your VS Code extension. There's a for connecting to the network. So what you need to do is you need to choose this. You need to sign in. I haven't signed in. I'm signed in now. So let me. Oh, okay. So it is asking my subscription. So currently I have created in Azure subscription, and this is you can see which is my resources, and I have a demo blockchain. I will be able to see my blockchain. So what I want to do, I want to deploy this on the Azure blockchain network. So what I will do is eh, there are two options. What you can do is either you can use the truffle suite for deploying. Oh, shit, VS Code is some problem. Okay, let me some issue with my VS Code. Hope you are able to see my screen. Okay, now what I will do is there is an option on the to-do list smart contract. You can build the smart contracts and can deploy by right click on that. So this is the feature available. So what I need to do, I need to see in this Azure blockchain. So you can see the command is running, it is finished. Now what I want to do is I want to deploy this. So or either you can use so once you click on the deploy, so there are two options. Either I want to deploy on my local blockchain network, the smart contracts, or I want to deploy on Azure blockchain. So I have a second, which is Azure blockchain as service. This is my URL, and once I will create, it will ask me to generate a mnemonic. Mnemonic is used for basically for securing your network. So let me just create mine. Okay, it'll ask you, means you want to save this code means to somewhere. Let's just save and title. Okay, and it will start deploying your blockchain on the Azure blockchain network. So suppose in upcoming part 3, what I will do is I will host this React application on Azure blockchain, no, sorry, app as an app service. And because I am going to deploy this blockchain smart contracts on Azure blockchain, I will consume this blockchain, you know, ABI and solution file in my React application, and then it will communicate. So that part, yeah, and we'll see in part 3 that how we are going to, when we are hosting the application on app service, so how we are consuming with the help of other cloud providers. Like currently in today's session, we have shown like how we'll create a local blockchain network, how we'll consume, write the smart contracts, how we'll consume these smart contracts. And in upcoming session, we'll see that while we are deploying the smart contracts on cloud network like Azure, same as this, you can deploy this also on AWS, the smart contracts. Even though there is option for in Remix IDE, you can deploy this smart contracts on whatever the network you want. Like currently I have injected Web3, so it is my local. So in the Web3, what you can do is you can configure your network here in the settings. What you can do is there is an option for network. So what you need to do, you need to add your private network. So suppose I have means like Azure network or maybe AWS network. So what I will do, I will provide my RPC URL. So RPC URL is nothing but when we create any blockchain means like, so there will be endpoints. So deployment credentials. Not this. Actually, because they have discontinued the quorum, so there are a lot of settings change here. Previously, they used to show the nodes. I think now they have removed the nodes part. So we will use this FTP settings only, I think. Yeah, so this will be used your FTP, because I haven't tried yet this part, but we can deploy the smart contracts by providing in the, what you need to do is you need to add this in your network. First of all, your RPC endpoint URL. Okay, you need to provide here, and then it is required HTTP prefix. Then you have to provide your chain ID. So chain ID is nothing but for local host, like it's a 1337. There is I will provide the URL. You can find out your chain ID for maybe for different network. It is different. And once after adding your network, you can either inject with Web3, or you can even though provide the Web3 providers if you have any like if you have any domain name, means like you want to host there, so you can provide the endpoints URL directly here, and you can deploy on this blockchain smart contract on that network. This is a publish to IPFS. IPFS is like kind of a blockchain as a service for storing the files, or maybe so you can deploy the smart contract. Suppose if you want to deploy some kind of file or storage files, so then you can deploy to the publish to IPFS. So I think my smart contract is deployed. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, not this. Yeah, it's still deploying. It takes some time for deploying. So once my smart contract is deployed, I can perform this to-do list operation on the Azure blockchain network. So any questions until here?
Sibai, one question is that
Yeah.
what are the topics we need to study for sync with the sessions? Someone asked.
Okay. First of all, I think this, I mean, like if you want to study for, it's like if you are a completely new beginner, if you want to do smart contracts, means like blockchain development, you need to do simple two things. Suppose if you don't want to install the applications on your local network or local blockchain, so you need to learn the Solidity language. Solidity is for writing the business logic of the smart contract. So this is the language. So you can write this smart contract and test application in the Remix IDE. That is the one thing. You can also do same with the VS Code extension. So what I did is I prefer to go with the VX Code. So sorry, we have VX Code already. So I wrote my smart contracts in VS Code. In previous sessions also I have showed how can you create a simple project of blockchain from the VS Code extension. Let me show you again. So what you can do is that's the one thing. First step is you learn the Solidity, understand how we write the smart contracts in blockchain smart contracts. And the second thing is then there are a couple of tutorials for if you want to go for the advanced level, because this is the first step to if you want to write the blockchain application, and how you want to consume this, that I have showed in today's session. Like you have to deploy the smart contracts, then you need to consume the ABI file or JSON file, and with the help of that logic you can communicate on the blockchain network. So let me show you how to create the blockchain application. First of all, you need to install the plugin of Azure blockchain, which I showed before. You need to create a new Solidity project, the basic project, and yeah. So it will create a simple hello world blockchain project for you. The project structure will be created. So if you can see, you have hello blockchain. It means like you have migration. So migration folders denotes you like whenever you are deploying the files. So you have to declare here. So that's how you need to create a. This is the logic part. Like suppose you are writing logic in .NET or Java. So you are writing the APIs in .NET, right? So this is the same thing. This is the .NET for blockchain, you can say. So you have to write the logic in the smart contract Solidity file, and then you consume wherever you want. I have given answered your question, or you want to know more on?
The second question was, is there any study material that they need to follow?
Yeah, I will provide few links. I think from where I have started is there was a tutorial called Blog Geeks. I have actually a few links I will provide in the chat box. Maybe let me show if I can see the chat box. Somewhere I cannot see the chat box actually. Okay. Okay. What you need to do is there's a link called Blog Geeks. Blog Geeks is quite good actually for doing the understanding about the blockchain. And if you want to write there are few courses they're having learning tracks. Suppose if you want to be a business person, or you want to be developer, wherever you want, so you can start. They're having quite good courses. And even though Microsoft also having some Microsoft also having some paths, so which you can go and understand about the tokens, because whenever you are writing the smart contract, so you have to follow the ERC standards. And for ERC standard security, you need to know that how you will create the tokens with the help of OpenZappling, because OpenZappling is the library which helps to secure the ERC contracts. So you need to know that, and you need to know that how he will write the smart contracts with the help of Remix, which I showed today. Okay, and this is the, so you need to follow the Solidity documentation, which is quite good actually. So you can you will get the idea how you will write the smart contracts Solidity. Okay. And yeah, I think and there is also on Trufflebox. So there are several open source applications available on the Trufflebox. So suppose if you want to go and try the Trufflebox pre-built application, so what you can do is you can just go in the boxes, and you can see these are the applications which is done by the open source community. You can go and download these applications. You just need to do, what you need to do is you need to type the you need to just run the truffle unbox drizzle or whatever the commands is given on your command prompt, and it will be, or there is another option. And while you create the project in VS Code, it asks you, means like you want to create the basic project or you want to go for the truffle box. So while you choose from truffle box, so it will ask you the path, and what it will show you all the samples which is available on the truffle box website. And you can try the already applications, the structure, project structure, how they have done. You will get the idea, quite good idea actually. Any other question?
Oh, thank you, Asif bhai. Can you please share those links in the Messenger, Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn Messenger?
Sure. I will
Then I
share.
can share with the participants.
Sure. I'll share. Sure. Thanks, Isan bhai. Thanks everyone for joining the session, and
Thank you,
thank
Asif bhai,
you.
for your nice presentation.
Yeah, actually it was quite technical. I understand that, because if people are not from the background of blockchain, or they have no idea. So I think it will be quite difficult. But what I try to do is in both sessions is at least creating the basic project, and then to-do list application, because to-do list application is like, if you know, create, update, or delete, I think you can write any application. So that's why it means like while you setting up your local blockchain network, you can write the applications. So hope,
Right.
yeah, I think people have get the idea. If not, I think maybe you can just reach me out if any questions or anything. Yeah.
Thank you very much. If anyone asks me any question, then I will share you.
Sure. Thanks, Radhai.
Thanks, Asif bhai, for your effort and nice presentation. Hopefully, this effort will be helpful for the audience and participants who are attending the session. Thank you very much for attending the session. Hopefully, in next month we will arrange next session.
Yeah.
Current session is in current session is second session of blockchain and Microsoft Power BI, and third session will be arranged on August.
Yeah, so in part 3, basically, whatever the app we have developed today, the to-do list, that app we will deploy on the Azure blockchain. We have already deployed on Azure blockchain, and now we will publish on cloud network with the help of CI/CD, and that I will show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Hasan bhai, again. Really helpful for your.
I want to inform you one thing, that if anyone one was not present on the earlier session, say first session or is first session, then you will get the session recording on the YouTube, and hopefully if you are not attending in from the first beginning of the session, then please view the YouTube channel, then you will get the total session recording. Thank you very much for attending the session. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.
Sure. Thanks, bhai. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.